Hey, have you ever seen that movie, Catch Me If You Can?
Yes, I have.
Okay, let's talk about that. Howdy there, folks. We're back.
Hey. We're back. And we're back.
And we're
I'm
back.
Zach.
Casey Kasem in the American Top 20, whatever countdown.
I'm Zach. This is Jason. We're the co-hosts
Hello.
of Hustle Machine, also co-owners of Market House. Between the two of us, we have 20 plus years of experience in marketing and website development. And we are now trying to flip hustle machine or hustle culture on its head, redefine what hustle culture looks like. It doesn't mean you have to give up everything and just surrender to the man every single day in order to make your dreams work. So that is the premise of today of the show. And today we are speaking, Jason, just that soft opener on Catch Me If You Can. The only part I remember is him going into that factory and printing his own money. Do you remember that?
I think that's like they tell that movie in like a frame story, I think. And so like they show that pretty early on. He's like in there like in the printing factory like in France or Europe or somewhere, and he's like making those Pan Am checks. He's like printing his own checks essentially.
What's interesting about that, this is a side note, you can get into what you're talking about. What's interesting is, I mean, you know, it's based on a true story, and that guy was hired by the CIA or FBI or whatever to learn. Like his sentence was lowered so that he could work for them to bust other criminals that were doing similar things that he was doing.
Oh yeah, he's a consultant. He's been a consultant pretty much since after his arrest. So the guy's name is Frank Abagnale Jr. And that's the character that Leonardo DiCaprio plays in that movie. And his story is amazing. Now, the movie is, you know, it's the Hollywood version. It's the Hollywood version of what happened.
Sure.
But there's a lot of truth to that. Like in the movie, he passes the bar. He passes the bar exam and becomes a lawyer. Well, in actuality, he really did. He really did pass the bar exam in, I was like Louisiana or something like that, or wherever state that was. But he really did pass the bar exam. He really did pose as a pilot for Pan Am, I believe it was. Now, I don't know if he actually flew planes. Like I'm pretty sure that never happened. I think he just posed as a pilot so he could get all the free travel and stuff and the perks. But I mean, there's a lot of his story that's true. And one of the specific things I want to talk about is when he was a teacher, when he was a professor. So he worked at, I think it was BYU for like a year as a professor, and he taught sociology, which he does not have a background in. So he worked as he worked as a sociology professor at BYU for a year, and he was teaching with not getting caught during that time. And in his book, I believe it was after the fact, when he was like his memoirs or whatever, when he's talking about it, he says he was interviewed and they said, how did you do that? Like how could you be a professor in a topic that you did not go to school for? How could you teach that and get away with it? And he says, I stayed a chapter ahead. I stayed a chapter ahead of the students. And, you know, whether or not you want to take life advice from a convicted felon and con man, there's a lot of like truths and insight we can gain from that principle of staying a chapter ahead, right? So like, to me, that like delves into this world of faking it till you make it and things like that, where, you know, you might not have all the skills in your toolkit. Like your bag of skills might be deficient in some areas, but maybe you shouldn't miss out on opportunities just because you're not an expert in every one of those areas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I remember me and my wife having this conversation that I think one of us said to one of the other one, and we said something like, I thought there was like this point in life where everything clicks and you automatically know how to do all of these things. Or as a parent, you automatically, like, maybe that's when and I remember saying, like, maybe that's when you become a parent, but that's not even true, because there's a lot of things I'm still trying to figure out. And then like my daughter said something like, how do you know all these things? Like, well, I know some of these things. I don't know everything. Trust me. And I think there was like this moment in my brain where you think as a kid, like, adults just have it together. When does that happen? Is it when you turn 18? Is it when you graduate high school? Maybe it's when you graduate college.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but that didn't happen for me for either one of those.
No.
High school graduation or college graduation did not feel like there wasn't a light bulb that went off and I was like, I got it all figured out now.
Yeah, I think that was probably some of our hesitation early on with the company. So we started this company, like 9-something years ago, and we started as a side hustle and ran it as a side hustle for a long time. And I think part of that delay in going full time was us maybe looking for that point where we're like, okay, I think we're businessmen now, or wait, maybe in like a year maybe in a year we'll be an entrepreneur. Yeah, I'd rather be like in a year we'll be an entrepreneur, and then we'll like, okay, this is how we are successful. You know,
something happens. There's like this epiphany thing.
Yeah. So that's not a thing. It's not a thing, and it's not just something that just poof magically happens. There's such a massive amount of unknowns. I know when my wife was in the very early days of getting ready to start her quilting business, she was like, I don't know what to do. Like, she's like, I'm not a business person. And I was like, neither am I. I own a business, but I don't think I consider myself a business person. Maybe not yet, you know? And there's so much unknown. There's so much things you just have to learn by doing. What's the on-the-job training? We've been on the job training as business professionals for quite a long time, and I still learn something new every single day. So I just think that there's a whole world of insight to be gained. And so relating this back to the whole chapter ahead thing, I think one of the biggest things that you can do in the whole chapter ahead, fake it till you make it mentality is, if an opportunity comes your way and you can maybe like get there 50%, and you can get there like 50%, go ahead and say yes. Right. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and say yes at 50%. And then if the client says yes, like if you agree on this opportunity, then you take it the rest of the way. Like on your own. Right.
Yeah, there is what helped us grow our business and the amount of faking it till you make it. Early on in my entrepreneurship journey, when I was freelancing for so long, let's see. I remember there was like a moment where I was in a meeting and somebody asked me, can you do these motion graphics? I said yes. I didn't know what a motion graphic was.
Yes.
Like I mean, I knew what
less than 50% at that point. But
I knew what motion was, and I knew what a graphic was. But put the two together, I didn't know what that was. And at the time, they were still fairly new. They weren't being used a lot. I mean, they were in like big commercials for sure, but like the average video didn't have that. And this was years and years ago. And I remember them asking me, can you do that? And I was like, yeah, I can do it. Absolutely do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so just show me some of the things that you're looking for, what you want to do. And they showed it to me, and I'm looking at them going,
what do you tell me what you think a motion graphic is?
Well, I didn't even do that. I was just like, can you show me some examples of what you're looking for? Like that's always a good line.
Yeah.
They showed it to me, and I'm watching them at like in their office, and I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I can absolutely do that. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, that looks so good, and it looks so complicated. But it stretched me because then I came back home. I started doing research on what people were using to create motion graphics. What was a motion graphic? What defined a motion graphic? How do you do that? Learned After Effects, taught myself, went on lynda.com at the time. That was the big thing, lynda.com.
Oh man, lynda.com was the best.
Yeah, and I got on there and I learned, and then I learned that there was templates out there that I could grab and put in there and then just tweak little bits and pieces and spit it out and be done with it.
Yeah.
And make it your own and create all these and I learned it. And now I can create, I mean, I created the opener for this. I create all kinds. I mean, it's something that I learned how to do. I did it, and now I know how to do it. Yeah. And I know you. I'm sure you could share several stories the same way. And it goes back to even with entrepreneurship, starting a business. When we started our business, we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know how to put a contract together. We didn't know how to do invoicing. We didn't know how to do billing. We didn't know how to do sales. We didn't know anything. And if we were to sit back and say, let that hold us back, we wouldn't be where we are today. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at is when Jennifer, your wife, said, I'm not a business person. Neither were we. And if you're sitting there listening to this and going, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do this. Just do it anyway. I actually was listening to Ken Coleman's book, The Proximity, the proximity, man, it's going to kill me now. Proximity principle. I wanted to say plan, but that's not right. The proximity principle. And he was talking about Nike and how they use that phrase, just do it, back in 1988 is when they started using that phrase. And then how everybody hated it internally. They were like, this is stupid, but they needed to compete with Reebok, which also cracks me up because Reebok and Nike competing with each other. Like, it seemed like two different worlds, like Nike, but Reebok in the day, like when we were growing up, Reebok was the thing. Like Reebok Classics. I had Reebok Classics.
Yeah, I had some Reeboks. Did Reebok make pumps? Did Reebok make pumps?
That was LA Gear.
No.
Yeah, LA Gear.
Lots of companies had pumps. Hold on a second.
Yeah, you're right. Reebok. You're right. Reebok did because I had the basketball. It was an orange basketball.
Yeah. Mine was, because when I got them for like a week, I would sit there and like, Mom, look, I'm going to be so good at basketball. And I go, and had a little pressure release on the side. And I would go,
and then your foot gets tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
Mine exploded,
legit, man.
Mine exploded because I pumped it so much, and it just and powder came out of the shoe. I'm not kidding you. And my mom was so mad. She was like, "Do you know how expensive those were?" And I'm like, "Sorry."
I'm just
can I get some more?
Concept of money.
And then I think I had LA Gear made something similar.
I thought LA Gears are the ones that like light up.
The light, yeah, they had the lights too, but maybe I've got them mixed up. But I also had ones that had like a green, like a lime green circle, like a pump on it. Huh. Anyways, they're talking about like the phrase "just do it."
Yeah,
and how that revolutionized everything. And the reason I'm saying that is like because if you're sitting there, let's just use that phrase: just do it, just do it. Because if you wait, and that's another thing too. When we were me and my wife got married, we had people asking us when we were going to have kids. And then we're like, well, we want this, and this in order first. And then I remember somebody saying, if you're waiting for everything to line up just right to have kids, it's never going to happen. So we're like, okay, fine. And we had our kids, but
all because
entrepreneurship
that person was like, you shouldn't wait.
All because that person, shouldn't wait. Just go for it. But I think if you're listening to this and you're being held back like we were, and like Jennifer was, just step out. And if you don't know how to do something, go and figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Ask the right questions. Get around people who do know how to do that.
Yeah.
Proximity principle. We should.
I think that I think the big takeaway for that is if you have a desire to do something and you are presented with an opportunity and it's reasonable that you could get there, that you could bridge the gap between your uncertainty and your lack of knowledge and fulfilling like a client goal or getting a new job or getting a big win on something. If you can get there reasonably, say you have 50-60% of the skills to get you there, and then you could learn it, say yes to that opportunity. Don't let yourself miss out. So you said earlier, like, oh, I bet you probably have some stories. Yes, I absolutely do. When I got out of college, I ran my family restaurant for 4 or 5 years. And then by that time, my wife had finished grad school and she was starting her own job. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start down my own career path. And so I started looking for work, and I found a position where I had my first, like corporate job. I ended up working at a resort, but during the interview process, they were looking for a website content and social media manager. And they needed somebody to not only run their whole web program, work in the marketing department and stuff, but then also they needed somebody to handle their social media. Well, at the time, I only used Twitter. And so I'm sitting in these meetings, and I'll go ahead and say sorry to Stephanie and Brian because I wasn't completely truthful during those meetings. I didn't know Facebook, didn't know how to run ads, didn't know how to boost posts. Actually, boosting posts wasn't even a thing at that time.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. I
didn't know audiences or any of that stuff. Like that wasn't part of what I knew. That wasn't my skill set. But I knew Twitter enough, and I knew that side of the equation. I was like, I'm halfway there. I can get the other 50% because I wanted a nice Twitter and Facebook program. Well, fast forward, I got the job. Fast forward even further, when I started there, they had about 6,000 or 7,000 followers and fans on Facebook. By the time I left a couple years later, they had over 120,000. I built that program up vastly, right? And that's coming from a person who didn't know I didn't know the specifics of that world, but before I even got the job, after I had that conversation that day, I was like, yeah, I know. I literally went home and started teaching myself the skills that I didn't have because I wanted to get more than just halfway there. I wanted to be able to do that. And so I taught myself, and I took courses, and then I learned as I did it. And I accepted all the opportunities that I had in that space to become better at that. And now we run campaigns for clients. We have our own business. Social media is part of what we do. And like that all traces back to saying yes to an opportunity that I wasn't fully ready for, but I was like halfway there. And so that all goes to show that like, if you have something that you think you can get there, don't let it go. Don't let it go by, don't miss that opportunity. So I think that another way that you can stay a chapter ahead, and I feel like you would fully agree with me on this, when you're dealing with clients and you have your own business, is staying proactive. And this is something that it's like, it makes common sense, but it's not something that I think that we were,
I don't think it comes natural.
Yeah. I don't think we were fully adept at. I don't think that we were like awesome at this early on, but it's something that we started to get better with after a couple of years, and it's staying a step ahead on customers. So if you've got a project you're working on and maybe you're going to hit the deadline, maybe you're not going to hit the deadline, you stay open and you email them. The goal is email them before they email you. That would be your goal on staying a chapter ahead.
That's what we tell our team now. Like when we have our project manager, when we hired her, it was like, if they email you, then you've fallen on the job. If they email you first asking for an update, then you're not doing your job. We need to be ahead of them. Asking the questions, getting them the updates before they go, hey guys, where are we at with this? And not to say that hasn't happened. It still happens occasionally. And I always cringe, I always cringe like, we should have told them already.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it. And I know you've had moments too where we've both done that, but go ahead. Go ahead with your point. You were making a point.
Sorry. You caught me sipping. I was about to take a sip of my drink. No. So I think the whole thing is, you stay a step ahead and you have these different tools in your kit, right? But how does this all connect in with hustle culture, you ask? When we look at professionals throughout your specific industry and throughout to the whole landscape of business ownership as a whole, we tend to see people who all have it together. We see these people who only show the wins. And that, I mean, that's fair, right? Like, you're not going to be like, well, I failed today. But I see a lot of companies and a lot of businesses that are like, you know what? Today was not a great day. Today I had an opportunity to do something and it just bombed or whatever. We were with a great partner. We built their website platform. We've done a ton of stuff with them. They're a educational and stock trading company, and they're very transparent. Like, when they have great trading days, they talk about the great trading days. When they have down trading days, they talk about the down trading days, because they're real. We are humans and we don't know everything. Even professionals don't know everything. So I think that it's really important to realize that, you might be following people on social media and you might have these people that you look up to who all seem to have it together, but they don't. One, I think, has it truly together.
Right. They have their real life and then they have the social media life. Like, and it's two different things.
Yeah.
And
my wife calls it life edited. Social media is life edited.
That's really good. Yeah, because if you think about it, we all do it in some way or another. Like, we all do that. We try to present ourselves best foot forward. And I think it would be a really good experiment to just maybe talk about the failures and businesses talking about how they've made mistakes. Because I think, or business owners, anybody in the limelight should highlight more of those failures. Because I think that there's this misconception, like you were saying, that they've got it all together. And so then we end up saying, well, we don't have all these things together. And I remember my wife saying something similar to what Jennifer said, but not in the sense of like, I'm not a business person. It was more of, well, I need to write this and I need to write this, because she sells curriculum and she sells stuff for homeschoolers. And so she said, I need to write this, and I need to get this done, and I need to get that done. And then finally, one day she said, I'm just going to put this up. I'm just going to make this really quick. It doesn't take long. I'm going to put it up. And I said, that's right. Right. Just put something up. And I think you use, I have a design side business too, just like you do. You have your own side one as well. And that's what I did with my first product. Was I'm just going to get it up. My store's not perfect. A lot of stuff is going to need to be worked out, but I need to get something up. And then the ball's rolling at that point. And then there's something that happens in your brain when you do that, where you make that first step and you put it out there.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden these things start happening in your brain. Like, oh, I could do this and I can make this better and I can do that. And things start rolling, things start moving. But when we sit and wait and say, well, I got to get this done. We got to get this done. And I got to get this done. It ends up never happening.
Yeah.
Because then we just wait and we wait and we wait and we say, oh, and then eventually it doesn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's a certain amount of like preparation you have to do for everything, but
for sure.
that can cause you to completely put off everything for way too long. I agree. I mean, there's, as a professional, if you're a master or if you're at 50%, I think it's fully okay for you in a client meeting, because I feel like this is what a lot of people have issues with. It's like, if I'm not an expert and I don't know everything and I'm not completely prepared for everything, What am I going to do
I
if
know
I'm
you're going.
presented with, what am I going to do if I'm presented with something where I don't know what to do? I think it's fully okay to say, I'll do some research on that for you. I'll get back with you, and then get back with them. And, take the time to say, I'm gonna find the best solution for that, because as the person having to say it, I feel like you can feel like a bit cringy, like oh gosh, like I don't want to have to accept the fact publicly that I don't know everything about everything, and that's a really difficult thing for a lot of people. Is to go, you know what, I don't know the answer to that. But I feel like when you're dealing with clients, and this is something that we've learned over the years, if you're dealing with clients, they're going to ask you something that you don't know. So,
all the time.
We deal with a lot of stuff when it comes to web development, and, a customer will ask about some random integration with some piece of software that 7 people use. And you're like, you know what? I don't know. I've never heard of that, but I will do some research and I will get back with you. And at that point, that's when you make sure that you're staying proactive. Your customer's not following up with you. You're really like, you're fully transparent. You're fully transparent. You're in the meeting. You were like, you know what? I don't know the answer to that. I will research it and I will get back with you. I think you stay a step ahead and you do the research. You stay proactive with the client, and it's a win-win for everybody. You learn something new, and your client ends up happy and comforted by the fact that even though you didn't know it, you found out the answer, and everybody's going to win because of it.
Yeah. There was a conversation I had with a member on our team, and they were going to be interacting more with the clients. And they said, what if I don't know the answer to something they're asking me, and you guys know the answer? And I said, you don't need to be the expert. You don't need to know everything. Like, well, you do need to be the expert, but even experts still don't have all the answers.
Right.
And I gave the same advice, is like, just say, I'm going to look into that and I'll get back to you as soon as I find something out. Still follow up, still look it up. Don't be like, I'm going to figure that out and then don't do anything with it. I remember me and my wife make a joke, and when we go shopping now, we used to work at a Polo Ralph Lauren store in college. And when anybody would ask us if they had do you have this shirt in another size? Do you have these pants in another size? And we go, or do you have this in another color? Do you have it in this color? We would say, oh, let me go look. And we would go and stand. Like, this was a thing. Like, all the employees would do this. We'd go and stand back there and like go to the back and just kind of like do nothing for a minute. Just kind of walk around, like not actually looking for it. Sometimes you would look for it, but if you're really just, I don't really want to look for this, go back there and just kind of like come back. No, I'm sorry. We don't have that. I'm sorry.
It's so messed up.
I know. But now when me and my wife go shopping, we're like, we could ask if they have it. I'm like, yeah, but you know what's going to happen. They're just going to go back there and stand and go, oh, no, I'm sorry. We don't have it. So don't be that. Don't do that. Actually do the research. Dig into it. Figure it out. You don't need to know everything. And I think that it goes a long way when you say that to a client or say that to a customer of like, I don't know, let me look into it. It goes a really long way.
Well, because business is to use a term from The Office, which you and I both love, is business is the most personal thing, right? For lack of a better word, I think that's pretty much the gist of it. But business is like the most personal thing. And when you enter into a business relationship, you're entering into a personal relationship between you as the representative of your business, whether it's just you or a small team like us, and that other business, and that's the representative of that company. And so you're entering in to a two-way relationship, and you want them to be truthful and open with you about what their expectations are and their goals are. And they equally want you to be truthful and open with what your skills and what you can deliver. But I think, like I said before, like I've been saying this whole time, if you can get halfway there with what you have and rely on those skill sets, and you truthfully believe that you can learn those skills along the way and get there, or maybe ask someone else for insight in another business relationship that you have, and be like, hey, I got this client, they're looking for this. Where would you start with this? If you can have those conversations, if you have a mentor or a network like we're trying to grow with Hustle Machine, if you have those relationships that you can rely on and you can grow because of it, and then also fulfill your customers' goals, do it. But just
Right.
make sure that you are a good custodian of that faith that your customer has given with you. So that has given you. So like if you are a widget business and somebody's like, hey, I need you to fabricate this, and you're like, I don't even know what a widget is. Well, you have no business saying yes to that opportunity, and you're only 5% of the way
Wait a
there.
minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I didn't know what motion graphics were.
But you said you knew what motion was and you would know what graphics were. You'd had the graphic design portion down. So to me, that's halfway. That's halfway there, because you have to build out all the
I didn't know how to
graphics.
make it. I didn't know how to make it move yet. That was the thing that tripped me up.
Yeah. Start point, end point, tweening. You got it. Add an effect to it. Boom. You're a motion graphic whiz, right?
There you go. Done.
I think that there's I think that you were a lot closer than you give yourself credit for. But I think that just don't let an opportunity go because you are not 100% there, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll miss out on a lot of opportunities. We've had people come to us before and like, hey, I need help with my website, and they're like, well, what's it built on? And it's some random website builder, and it's like, you know what? I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen most of them. I might not have used this before, but I think I can.
Yeah.
I think I can get there with 5 minutes of messing around with it. So, give yourself probably a little bit more credit than you think you deserve, and then I think you can get there.
Well, and those side hustlers that are out there, if you're waiting for the next shoe to drop of like this epiphany moment of, once I get to this point, I will be able to jump. And let's be real, when we stepped into this both full time, we didn't have enough really to keep both of us afloat, like,
right,
realistically.
But the thing is, the thing we did, the thing we thought about long and hard was, if I was doing this full time, if I was able to get 100% of myself from 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever it is each day during an actual work day, if I was able to actually do that when, I don't know, say the sun was up, if I was able to actually be productive during a business day, could I make it? And the answer we both gave was yes, because 100%. we were still successful working at nights and weekends.
I mean, let's be real, like maybe 25% of our time was in it.
Yeah.
25. If we could give the extra 75%, could we both make the ends meet? And even at 25%, we were making great side money, like really good side money of our business, like from our regular 9 to 5. I mean, it was honestly, it was really, really good. And so we knew at that moment if we're going to make the leap, let's do it now. If we keep waiting, we keep talking about it. And we did it the way we didn't think we would ever do it. And we always thought that I would go first and be working on the sales part of it and drumming up business. And then you would make the jump after I drummed up enough business. It went the complete opposite. You went first, and then I came on suddenly because we had a big windfall.
I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Hey, I'm coming to join you. And you're like,
I'm here to work. I'm like, okay.
Hey, I'm applying for a job. Can I work for your company? Yeah. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a side hustler, looking at that, what's the next moment? What's the next that I got to wait for the next thing to happen first before I make the jump.
Right.
Oftentimes you just make the leap, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I know about entrepreneurs. They figure it out.
Mhm.
Like every entrepreneur I know that I talk to has a similar story that we've already shared of. Yeah, I just had to figure it out. I just figured it out.
Because what were they doing? They were staying a chapter ahead. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They were just figuring it out. They were just figuring it out 20 pages ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's it.
And then get around people. I think one thing you could add to that is to stay ahead is get around people who are ahead. Where you want to be, get around them. And that's the thing I'm learning about this Ken Coleman book for the proximity principle is getting around those people. You start to ask the questions, and they're gonna, because you're showing an interest and you want that to happen, they want to help you out as well. It's kind of like a mentorship begins to happen, not
right
like an official mentorship, but they want to help you out, for you to get where you want to go. So yeah. Speaking of chapter ahead, we're going to have another chapter of the episode of Hustle Machine coming soon. So if you haven't already subscribed, liked, followed, all of those things, go ahead and do so that you can stay a chapter ahead. And
Agreed.
we are building this community. If you haven't joined that yet, go to Facebook and find us on Hustle Machine. Find Hustle Machine on Facebook as our Facebook group. Asked to join, and we would love to have you in there and be part of the community. So until next time, guys, thanks for listening. Check you next time.
Adios. Goodbye.